Personal story. Now I didn't commission this part because I actually don't know his personal story myself. So he's actually going to be telling all of us for the first time. I want to know how you got from Gaza to where you are today, and also how your family and friends see the situation back there now.
And although you didn't commission it, I promise you everything is going to be just fine. My story begins, I live my story every day. If you meet anyone from Gaza, any Palestinian, I'm sure that they will have a story to tell you. And my story is one that defined my future forever. Why, you may ask? Because I lived the entire conflict came to me to the living room. I did not only watch it on TV, I did not only got my education about the other side or my own side from the streets and from the propaganda, from the stereotypes. All of it, the 50-year-old conflict came right to my living room. Why? Because I lived next to an Israeli settlement called Kfar Daron. Now my family, I have 9 names. My family owned the land that we own today since the Ottomans even. And this is something I did not appreciate growing up, but it's something I'm very proud and thankful for every day now. The settlement, the military base was there as an attachment to the settlement, and this is when I say that the conflict came to my own living room, because in 2000, our neighbors, as my youngest sister always used to refer to them, decided to shoot at the house. My family thought me nothing but the fact that they are our cousins, if anything. They are people that we have to live with sooner or later, and the contradictions always came from the Israeli army. They started shooting at the house. I was 11 years old when the Intifada started in 2000. That was in September. And a couple of days later, the soldiers came into the house, taken over the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, installing security cameras, camouflages around the windows upstairs. And when they came downstairs, they said, from now on, no one is allowed upstairs. My father, with his usual smile on his face, said, "Until how long?" And the soldiers said, "Until it's over." To my father, that was an optimistic answer. Why? Because he says, until it's over, this means that they're not here forever. But for us, they were here forever, because 5 years is a long time to be roommates with soldiers every night. Every night they came downstairs, they made us live in the living room, they controlled the rest of the house, they threw the phones in the corners, they locked every door, they surrounded the house, and they put us in the living room. Me, my mom, my grandmother, my father, and the rest of my siblings. To go to the bathroom, I could go with a permit from the captain upstairs, and the soldier would walk me to my own bathroom, and I couldn't close the door. He would just turn around. If you're a woman, you could shut the door, but you couldn't lock it. To the kitchen, same scenario. To come home late, those were the early years of my being a teenager. So you could imagine that I wanted to do everything that had nothing to do with my father, my family, and my house. Just wanted to stay outside the whole time. The soldiers were the ones who were always forcing me to stay in. When I had an idea, an activity, it was them that I had to negotiate with, not my father. My father, in the midst of all of this, is teaching me to choose forgiveness over revenge, to choose bravery over fear, and to choose peace over war. As a 11-year-old, as a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, there is no possible way for me to comprehend, because every time he preaches to me, I see the soldiers either asking him to take his clothes off for no reason. We have to take a permit, get a permit, fix the water. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. On some occasions, I didn't go to school for 7 straight days because the soldiers are there. So this was how I was raised, and to me, my conflict, you might expect my conflict was with the Israelis. My conflict was with my father, because he was the person who was always telling me, do not let them make you angry, do not let them make you upset. This is your house, and as long as we're here, everything will be okay. In 2004, in front of 3 Americans who worked with the United Nations, I came, this was last Saturday, the 13th anniversary of this story. I was 15 years old, went into the kitchen, fought with my mother about leftovers. On my way out, before the curfew time, I decided to join in. I saw the 3 Americans, my dad asking for a permit from the tower where the soldiers are, and they got a permit for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the soldier, or even before the 15 minutes came to an end, after a couple of minutes, the soldier asked the United Nations people to leave. And as their car was backing up, leaving our home, I remember waving my hand like this. And then I hear a sound. One of the soldiers that we were just speaking to, point blank, shoots me in the back. Now, my father is in front of me. The 3 Americans are surprised, like you are. And I am trying to figure out why I can't move my legs, because I thought I was shot in my legs. My father, who also was my headmaster in school, so you understand why I hated him even more, because I had to deal with him at school and at home. Shoved me into the United Nations car, and off we went. The driver was, my mom was running, my younger brother, Muhammad, was running towards me, and my whole life is coming to an end. I am only trying to catch as many more glimpses of the sky as I can. My father is saying that you are going to be okay, you're not going to die. To make the long story short for you, 3 days later, I wake up in the middle of Tel Aviv at a hospital called Tel Shomer. Now, my whole life I've been dealing with Israel through its soldiers, through its settlers, and the first 2 are not so great from my perspective. The third one is asking me out of 10, how much pain do you have? Can you lift your legs? Of course, showering me, feeding me. I spent 6 months in surgery, and the rest would be in a physical therapy facility to learn how to walk again. And this experience would bring me, make peace between me and my father, and make me understand what's it like to be a human for the first time. What's it like to see the human side of the people who have caused endless pains to me personally and to my family. Because to look at them and observe them and see them doing the things that they were doing, operating on me, is something I never expected and I could never forget at the same time. So I come to you here before because I went through that experience. The experience came to me in many ways. I was waiting for my time to leave this trip, and my father would say, "You'll come back." I say, yes, I will. But now, because of this story, I am more committed to Gaza. I'm more committed to Palestine. I'm more committed to my faith and to my upbringings, because it was in Gaza where I learned how to love. It wasn't in Gaza that I learned how to hate. It was in Gaza that I forgave the soldier. It was in Gaza that I learned how to become a peacemaker. It was in Gaza that I was inspired to do a lot of the positive things that I believe I have been able to achieve in this country. When I left in 2006, late 2006, I came to a summer camp in the United States, and then I got the privilege of attending a high school, a Quaker school in the West Bank. First time to meet Palestinians who are in the West Bank, and I had to stay there for the whole year. What I saw, now you asked the question, yesterday I spoke to my little brother Muhammad in Gaza, as I always do before I speak to people, just to catch up on what's going on in Gaza. And I said, Muhammad, what does Gaza has to do with it? And he said, Gaza is the topic. If they are asking such question, that's concerning. Gaza never went away. Gaza is not going to go away anytime soon. And the idea that Israel, Egypt, whatever country is involved, thinks that by leaving Gaza, and we'll deal with it later, is problematic and incredibly dangerous, because Gaza is not Jerusalem. Gaza is clear. We know what Gaza is, where it stands, the borders, and what it needs. And what it needs right now is freedom from occupation, freedom from corruption, freedom from all the politicians and the leaders who think that we will come to Gaza later. But the truth is, we are now thinking of Gaza as one entity and the West Bank as another. Now, to live in Gaza, and I'm doing all I can to go to Gaza very, very soon. I haven't been back since I came here in 2006. So America has been a home for me, and more than a home, in so many ways. But I'd like to go back because I want to see it with my own eyes. For now, I got my family, who I deeply trust, telling me that electricity, just electricity, about your pole, from 8 hours, well, from 24 hours to 8 hours, today they get it for 3 hours only. And it happens every other day. Not to mention, of course, if you don't have electricity, then you don't have a clear functioning of your hospitals, of your schools, of your daily life. The same goes to fuel, the same goes to water. Now, Israel isn't always the problem. We have our own guys, whether it's the West Bank or the government in Gaza, who also contribute their own share to it. But the main problem does come from the occupation imposed on Gaza Strip. The borders, me and my brothers are trying to stick to the fact that we have to do everything we can to stay in Gaza. Because to come, I don't know if any of you is from Palestine or from Gaza, or from Israel, to come from the Holy Land, I cannot describe to you the feeling of how great and wonderful and how fulfilling that is. So I come from the Holy Land, where Jesus was, where Muhammad was, and where Moshe was. And that to me didn't make sense when I was growing up, but that's a huge gift for me as a human being, as a Muslim, as a Palestinian, as an Arab.
Yousef, can I interrupt you and give Dalia a question, and we'll come back to you, if that's okay?
I just delivered my message. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Given that a lot of what we said, the power and control is in Israel's hands, and like Yousef said, there are certainly other actors that play a role. Dalia, from the poll and from the analysis that you do on a daily basis, can you give us a ray of hope or identify any opportunities forward?
Stereo. Okay, I guess I just feel like I have to say something about this because, we pollsters are sometimes accused of reducing people to statistics. Okay? And when you hear a personal story like that, I think that we all have to remember that when I talk about numbers, what I'm talking about are people behind the numbers on the Israeli side, but also, we do polling on the Palestinian side, but this is a lot of people thinking these things. I'm just, giving you the data so that you can understand how to quantify it, but I think everybody's been very affected by what you said, and I want to say on a human level that we're here to remember all the people who are living under these conditions.